Hello, Namaskar. Welcome you to the SAAR Analysis. I am Chaman Nayak and here's my take. What if the world's most important waterway is no longer protected by international law but controlled by the calculation of the world? Well, I have said it enormous times that nearly 20% of the global oil consumption and roughly one-fifth of world's LNG trade move through Strait of Hormuz every single day. Now, just 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, yet it has become a strategic hinge of the global economy. Today, after the fresh exchanges of missiles between the United States and Iran, the Strait of Hormuz has once again become an important more than a shipping lane. It has become a geopolitical bargaining chip. This is no longer just a Middle East conflict, it's a test whether globalization can survive, where most critical choke point has become the battlefield. Let's dig it out. Here's what evidence speaks about, and the evidence is unmistakable. The United States have expanded the strike across Iranian military infrastructure, while the Iran has responded by targeting American assets and regional partners across Gulf. Behind every tanker crossing Hormuz is now a calculation involving naval escorts, military threats, insurance premiums, satellite surveillance, and geopolitical uncertainty. The question is no longer whether missiles will fly, the question is whether the global trade can still function under the permanent strategic intimidation. Well, now the question arises, why is this important? Well, energy has become new weapon. Every disruption inside the Hormuz affects more than an oil market. It influences inflation in Europe, manufacturing cost in Asia, shipping lanes in London, energy security in Japan, and strategic petroleum reserve in India, and the monetary policy in Washington. This is the precisely logic described by the strategic Edward Luttwak in this strategy, where military actions are designed not merely to destroy an opponent but to alter the economic calculation by every observer. Where Iran understands that it cannot match America's military power directly, instead it seeks leverage by threatening the world's economic bloodstream. The United States meanwhile seek to preserve the freedom of navigation because losing credibility in the Hormuz would weaken its security guarantees across Indo-Pacific and the Gulf. This is no longer simply about territory, it is about credibility, deterrence, and control over infrastructure of globalization. Now let's look at the bigger picture. The Hormuz crisis also expands the deeper transformation. The global economy is increasingly dependent on a handful of maritime choke points, from Hormuz to Bab el-Mandeb to Suez Canal from South China Sea. Control over this corridor is becoming strategically valuable as control over the natural resources themselves. In other words, contest is shifting from who owns the energy to who controls the routes that deliver it. This is emerging geopolitical architecture in the 21st century. Now, here's my perspective. History often remembers wars through the battle they were fought, but market remember them through the routes they were interpreted. The Strait of Hormuz reminds us that the modern power is measured not only by the missiles or the aircraft carrier, built by the ability to keep the global moving while others attempt to stop it. The nation that secures the trade must earn the trust, and the nation that threatens to create will create the leverage, and that distinction will define the next phase of geopolitics. Well, the real story is not whether Strait of Hormuz will open tomorrow. The real story is whether the world is entering a new era where every strategic choke point becomes a permanent instrument of geopolitical pressure. Because the world's narrowest waterway begins determining the world's largest economies by geography, it is no longer just a map. It is becoming the destiny. That's all from today's analysis. I will be back with another episode. Till then, thank you for watching this.